literal word on the street is Netflix kind of has the inside track, but it's some pretty serious bidders, kind of the Ellison family, who I used
Sure.
to work for Larry Ellison, Netflix. I mean, a lot of people with resources and who seem to have a lot of vision and really are in building mode. So I think it's like exciting times watching this go down.
I mean, as we're thinking about this potential deal, if Netflix were to actually come out on the winning end, what does this mean potentially about antitrust concerns? Have you been hearing any conversation about that?
I don't think so. I mean, there are somewhat around 200 streaming networks, almost all of whom are billion-dollar companies. So I think it's pretty hard even to look at this from an antitrust perspective, even if it's two of the largest. I think the library that, and honestly, some of those companies are hurting. And so, having some consolidation, I think, is a healthy thing. And Warner Brothers Discovery, I think it's just a fantastic asset. I think in terms of acquisitions or mergers in the media space, I think it's kind of been number one on the list. I think the way people are responding to the opportunity is kind of validating that.
With Terry Kawaja back at Solomon Smith Brothers, Solomon Smith Barney, he was the first one to trade this asset when he represented AOL buying Time Warner back in the day. So this is not the first go-around for these Time Warner people.
Yeah, and look at the program they have: Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, White Lotus. I mean, it's in a lot of ways HBO was kind of the original Netflix. It wasn't obviously on the net, but it had like this incredible original content, which it continues to still have, along with just this broad library of content. And we all watched it on cable. Netflix kind of brought that formula to the internet, and obviously it is kind of become this massive company as a result of that. But I think that's why that library of content, that ability to kind of keep doing it. Like, they haven't really lost, meaning Warner Brothers Discovery, they haven't really lost their mojo in terms of creating content like that. And I think Discovery is underappreciated in terms of the value, that it brings. Shark Week and that kind of like documentary style, and they turned kind of showing, and they turned that also into like reality TV with what's the show up in Alaska, the fishing show.
Oh yeah, the crab guys. Yeah, the last five.
I mean,
deadliest catch.
It's a lot to watch. It's a lot to watch, and I think that's why people want the asset.
I've forgotten about Shark Week.
Yes. Oh no, that's big, huge revenue.
Just imagine any of these players, especially on Netflix, who has the resources to do it, bringing back Game of Thrones, bringing back a lot of this program. I think it's still going to play really, really well, and it might also play really well outside the United States. So where a lot of these companies need to expand to.
So we talked about Netflix. What about Paramount Skydance? How big of a deal could this be for them?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Paramount is a good asset. I think this is meaning there's a lot of programming there, and obviously they pick up CBS and things like that. But adding Warner Brothers Discovery, I kind of think puts them in a much stronger position to challenge a Netflix and challenge a Disney. And that may be one of the reasons Netflix is interested, is somewhat as a, kind of to hold their ground, hold their turf, by not allowing someone to put together a library of content that is, potentially as in the range of strength as theirs is. So that, this could be as much of a defensive move as an offensive move. But I think it makes a lot of sense for Paramount. I mean, once they committed to getting Paramount, I think the acquisitions can't stop. They have to kind of double down, and so we'll see how this plays out.
Mark, for 2026 in the streaming business, you mentioned there's a couple hundred streamers out there. Are there too many? Does there need to be consolidation or bundling, or how do you think the streaming landscape is going to evolve next year?
Yeah, I mean, it has to consolidate. I've always thought, kind of one of the things I've always said on this topic is we could play a game. If I name a streaming network and you can't tell me immediately while you will watch it, then it probably should not exist as an independent network. And we played that game. If I say Discovery, you would say documentary. If I say Netflix, you would say, new shows every Tuesday, and there'd be a range of things you want to watch. If I say ESPN, you say sports. And so, when you get into some of the names, you can't as clearly say that, then I think there has to be a consolidation, both in terms of the health of those businesses as well as just what consumers are willing to spend and tolerate. We've gotten to this point where pretty much, we went back to the future in terms of ad-supported content. At this point, I think every streaming network except for Apple TV Plus now has ads. So you can do an ad model and do well. You're not as reliant on subscriptions, but you still have to have a reason for people to come and watch you, and that's the key.